Good morning and welcome to Rising. We have a great show for you today. It is Monday morning. We're back from the weekend. Hello, Lindsay.
How are you doing? I'm good. I feel like it's so dreary today. I gave you Morticia Addams with the look.
Yeah,
Wednesday Addams.
Morticia. I love the Addams.
Actually, I thought you would like this because you said I'm more of the light and fluffy one. I can't even believe I wore this today.
I actually watched that show, the Wednesday show.
Do you?
It's great. Yeah.
You liked the remake?
And I liked it so much. And then my fiance went back and we watched the movies from the 90s, which are really good.
Really? Well, it's been rainy. I know there's supposed to be a nor'easter. I traveled from New York.
What is that? I don't know what that is.
Some crazy storm, and there was only a drizzle.
Comes from the Northeast?
Yeah, I'm assuming.
That's probably why.
But yeah, so I'm here, though. I'm glad I made it.
All right, you had a good weekend.
I did have a good weekend. Did you?
I did. My dad was visiting, and my stepmom, and it was really fun. We went to some nice places.
That's awesome. Yeah. Coming up on Rising, one university is rejecting the Trump administration's special funding offer, and the White House doesn't seem to be too happy about it.
Plus, great news. The last remaining Israeli hostages have been officially freed from Hamas captivity. President Trump also addressed Israeli parliament this morning, so we'll get to all that too.
And Congressman Tim Burchett went on Tucker Carlson's podcast to discuss UFOs. We'll listen to a strange incident that a naval officer told Burchett about. But first, Robby, what's on your radar?
Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene is one of the most ideologically consistent, truly America First members of Congress. She's a patriot, she's a Republican, she's MAGA, and she supports President Trump. But she isn't afraid to say what policy areas are working and which ones are not. To that end, she recently appeared on Tim Dillon's podcast and made some news by admitting that she thinks the tariffs might be getting in the way of President Trump's agenda by driving up costs for manufacturers. Let's watch.
And I'm talking to major manufacturing companies they're saying we support the president, we support what he's trying, his long-term goal, but we're having problems with these tariffs. And now we're having problems. We can't get supplies from this country and we can't get supplies from this country. And there's problems. But have regular people's bank accounts been affected? Has the stress come off? No, that has not happened yet. And that needs to be the major focus.
And it's not just tariffs. MTG also explained why the administration's deportation policy, if taken to an extreme, is going to hurt American businesses. Watch this.
As a conservative and as a business owner in the construction industry and as a realist, I can say we have to do something about labor, and that needs to be a smarter plan than just rounding up every single person and deporting them just like that. Right. So, and I'm going to get pushed back on that, but I'm just living in reality from here on out.
Yeah.
And if anybody's mad at me for saying the truth, then I'm sorry.
Bravo. Now, undoubtedly, some regime sycophants are going to be knocking MTG for daring to speak her mind and admit that she recognizes some downsides associated with tariffs and mass deportations. I see things differently. In fact, I think we need to start calling her based Marjorie Taylor Greene, because she's absolutely right. And smart people in the administration need to listen to her, because they already know what she's saying is correct. Let's be clear. Trump was absolutely elected president with a mandate to reduce illegal immigration and mitigate the harms associated with it. That's absolutely true. We need to reduce crime and unfair competition from foreign labor, workers who don't have to follow the same labor regulations as Americans because of their illicit status. By all means, let's work on that. But we can't just round up everybody who's technically here illegally and who's working without devastating the farming sector, the hospitality sector, the tech sector, and so on. The Republican Party is the party of business. It's the party of big business and small business. We can't drive labor costs up for business owners and expect to remain in power. GOP voters and Americans writ large want food to cost less. They want electronics to cost less. They want services to cost less. And it's not just about the immigrants, it's also, as Based MTG notes, about the tariffs. If businesses have to pay more money to obtain raw materials, they pass those costs on to you and to me. It's just a fact. Trump is well within his rights to use U.S. trade policy as a negotiating tactic with other nations in hopes of bringing down overall barriers to trade between America and the rest of the world. But painful, significant, across-the-board tariffs are going to cripple U.S. industries. That's a great irony of the populist faction of MAGA. They say we need to reshore our factories and have manufacturing take place domestically. But then they're unwilling to push for the policies that we would need in order to make that possible. Free trade, for the relevant raw materials and more permissive labor regulations, including around immigration. MTG understands that because, unlike many of her colleagues in the Republican and Democratic parties, well, A, she's actually a business owner, and B, she listens to her constituents. She asks them what their concerns are. Amazing concept. Maybe more members of Congress could perhaps follow her lead on that. So I don't know, Lindsay. I'm starting to feel an MTG for president.
Well, don't go too far. I like Marjorie Taylor Greene and what she's doing right now. Overall, I think that it's important to speak out. I do want to just be honest. Re-election season is next year. She has a lot on her agenda. It is important to answer to constituents if you would like to keep your position.
Yeah.
I mean, people are not ordained into office, right? They get voted in.
She takes calls. I love when she does interviews. She says, here's what I'm hearing. She's always
talking about,
on what she's
and
hearing.
also I appreciate, like you said, people speaking from a business perspective. Now, you took what I said about Marjorie Taylor Greene last week and flipped it on its head. I said, oh, this is just a calling out of the Republican Party. You said, oh, no, she still is aligned with Trump, but she just calling out these things. Well, the biggest things of his presidency the last 9 months, she has vehemently disagreed on wholeheartedly. So we're talking about Epstein, huge issue in his presidency. We're talking about the handling of Israel and Hamas. She literally called it a genocide, which is not words that you hear many people in her party saying. We're talking about health care. The president does not want to negotiate with Democrats regarding health care. She does, and she wants those premiums not to double at the beginning of next year. And now we're talking about immigration. She literally does not like the policies and the way it's going about it when you're watching children be separated from their parents who were just working here and living a normal life, not criminals, but be taken away by ICE. And so that would, to me, just make her a Democrat. I don't know why that would just... These are all big policies. This is completely against everything that the party is standing for right now. So why does this not, to you, send a sign? And let me finish my overall point, because I do think that I know you want to isolate it as, somebody who's just outspoken and bold. And two things can be true at once. She is outspoken and bold. At the same time, she is the antithesis to many things that President Trump is actively campaigning on. Not even campaigning, he has the job actively pushing forward. She is literally saying the opposite. So why would that make her in lockstep or even in tandem with the Republican Party right now when Democrats are saying the same things that she's saying? Just help me understand and paint the picture about how she's not breaking away from the party. And we talk about the voices that she's echoing. Theo Vaughn, Joe Rogan. We're hearing some of the same complaints that she's bringing up come up in this podcasting space that you covet so much. And so it just sounds to me more like the way you're trying to position it is very too generous and nice from what it actually is, to break away from MAGA as a whole.
Let's take those one by one. On Epstein, the Democrats have moved to where the MAGA position was. So that's, not reflective of her changing her position. On health care, you maybe have a point there. She is now echoing talking points of Democrats on health care. On that one, I don't agree with her. I'll back the president on that one. Although he said something like maybe we should give them the subsidies. I would not increase the health care or maintain the health care subsidies. So we disagree on that. Now, on labor policy and tariffs, look, it is possible, I think, to support reducing more violent crime associated with illegal immigration and using tariffs as a strategy for negotiating trade deals. That is fine, but what the Republican Party should be cognizant of, and Trump should be cognizant of, and people in the orbit should understand, is that the higher costs associated with deporting the workers and tariffing the raw materials get passed on to consumers in the form of higher prices. And that is exactly what Trump ran on. Stop. Yes, I know he said tariffs are not a surprise, deportation should not be a surprise, but there are trade-offs. And the trade-off is higher prices, and that is going to derail the entire agenda if it is not dealt with.
And quickly,
the deportation's got to be more strategic. Stop. Watch the farming sector. Watch the South Korean people who are building a factory that nobody else knows even how to build, and we deported them. That was the stupidest thing we've ever done. And all that. What I'm saying is more listening to Marjorie Taylor Greene will be to the benefit of the Republican Party.
Well, I hope she keeps talking about this stuff.
Next up, President Trump is in Israel today as living hostages taken by Hamas have now been returned. We'll be right back with what that means for the ceasefire deal in Gaza.